Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Green Dragons Gaming. Without us, they couldn't feel like winners. Without them, we couldn't look so good. So again, we're based out of Westchester, Pennsylvania. If you're in the area, Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and I travel all the way out throughout Maryland, DC area, and a little bit of West Virginia, Virginia. Do me a favor, reach out to me. Love to get a game in with you. So at the end of this, I'll go ahead and actually, unfortunately, it's going to be an afterthought, and I'll add to this posting in the notes later on. We have a lot of tournaments coming up. I want to make sure I support everyone and get some information out there. But this was a GT up here in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, called Battlecry, and that was hosted by Chris. He goes by Eggs PR up on the Ninth Age forums. He put on. I'm actually going to steal some of this for Masters and also for Dragon's Den that I'll be running. And he gave us all packets. It had all the not the whole rules, but it had all the scenarios, the objectives. It had your army list in there. It was really, really well done. So I'm going to steal some of those ideas and hopefully start implementing that. He was very well organized when it came to this. So this is Battlecry, Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, Game 1. I ended up, so we get the pairings the week of, and I look at it, and I'm playing Derek85 up on the forums, and I'm going, crap, I am playing Vermin Swarm, and I'm playing King of Echo Tank. And I look at his list, and he's got the tools to deal with me. Now, granted, Joe Finn up on the forums has more tools to deal with my army, but is another Vermin Swarm player. He has. I'm not expecting to do well. And here's his list, by the way. So he's got the Pendulum. He's got an assassin with the potion of swiftness that does D3 wounds with poison, so I don't want to throw my lord in there. His BSB can hide in the second rank. He's got witchcraft, and his got the occultism. So again, I'm just not picturing it to be in a good spot. He's got Brick of 35. I mean, you see his list, but what I'm worried about, Vermin Hulks, if they charge me and I don't charge him, and the rat swarms can just turn around and just stick me and then redirect, and they can move through his own units. I'm not worried about his gutter blades, but the weapon teams, the globe launchers, I'm worried about that because of the AP 10 because of the toxic hits, and then after thrower I have to be concerned for my lord because each one of those does D3 wounds, so you can turn around and pop my lord, and of course there's the Dreadmill down below. So all in all, I'm not expecting to have a great game off the bat. Here's my list. Go ahead, flip through it. I like it. It works well for me. Serves me well. Definitely served me well this tournament. As a matter of fact, yeah, I'll let the thing kind of go for itself. But I'm really happy with it. It's not a lot on the board, but it's just enough. So. The first pick that I have here, this unfortunately is after my movement. So this is the end of my movement phase because, again, I'm trying to be very cognizant of time. Because as someone who does do battle reports, you stop to take a picture. That's time spent during the game, and when it's a time 3-hour game or 2-hour 45-minute game, you have to hurry. So you see where my big brick of Knights of the Realm is there in the middle? There used to be a Dreadmill there. That unit, again, has the banner of speed because it has my BSB in that unit. I'm sorry, let me start with this. Let me go left to right. He's got his Brick of Slaves. Then he's got his Rat-at-Arms. He's got his Globe Launchers in front of those. He's got his Pendulum unit. He's got a unit of Footpads in the back. He has the Rat Swarm, which you can just see underneath his hand. He had a Dreadmill right where my knight's frontage is. And then he's got his Vermin Hulks and then his Giant Rats. I don't know why the giant rats and vermin hulks. I think what he was hoping to do was have them come in, maybe tie me up when they turn around and get in there. So don't know. And unfortunately, what I did here was I pretty much chaffed my crossbows, but I didn't need them at that point in time. Like they weren't important as far as I was concerned. Um, so you see my one unit of mounted yeoman. There's my other unit of mounted yeoman. Now he did his ambushers. He was able to sneak on to the back end of the board, which I was fine with, especially with this army where I was going to say, fine, I'm going to be gone. I fed him a unit of fast cav. I turned around, I plucked one off. I was hoping for two. In which case, that's still wishful thinking because you need sixes to hit them. So I was happy with one wound. And there was so I hit him. Then I kill him. Let's see. So if you notice, something's missing now. And I did it for this game, and I wish I had done it for the other games. Unfortunately, my next game, he talked to me about time, and we were still within the first hour of the game, and I start rushing myself. This game, Derek and I were much more relaxed. And not saying my next opponent was wrong to say what he said. He absolutely was in the right, and I believe correct. So I need to do a better job of that. But what we're doing here is we're marking our charges using the dice. I see other people do it. So he declared the charge into them, and they flee. And he says, all right, I'll try to redirect into the grails. He needs an obnoxiously long charge. He tries to charge my aspirants with his giant rats. Again, needs a very long charge. I think that move was a mistake because, again, that's a unit of chaff against a okay unit. I think toe-to-toe, I think aspirants, even though they don't have the wounds, they have a 2-up armor. They're not going anywhere from that weak unit. Over here, he charged my mounted yeoman as well, and that's that. So he fails that charge. So he there was a unit of disciples. Where's that unit of disciples hiding? Oh, there it is. And he put them going sideways so he didn't have to be frenzy baited with them. So going back, he moves his disciples up in front of the grails, and that's how his turn was. Nothing happened really in Magic or anything else. During combat, he killed 3 of my mounted yeomen. I did nothing to him. I broke and ran with my 2 remaining yeomen. So then so now we're on to top of turn 2. I declare a charge with the grails. I declare a charge with the Duke into the oh dear God, into the disciples as well. All right. There's a reason why I did that. He did not take out my chaff at this point, and I always have the Green Knight to turn around and pop out. And there's my 1 unit of fling. I think I lost 1 or 2 knight. I lost 1 knight running through the forest. And I declare the charge into the giant rats as well. So there's that. Now, if you notice, the naphtha thrower, which was what was over there, the glow launch thrower on the other side, is not there right now. And the reason why it's not there is my archers went ahead and killed it. So this is how the board looks at the right before combat. So I'm chaffing up his big brick. I'm chaffing up his slaves. And his mage is in the bunker in the back left, and the foot pads, can't see them from this picture, but they're right behind the pendulum, or it's tough to see them in this picture. And it was another mistake he made is he took his vermin hulks and he started to pull them back the other way. I didn't know why he did that. It wasn't going to be a big issue, but I just wasn't sure why he did that. My Knights of the Realm rally, and that is, and they rally as well, off their own leadership 6. Close combats, I did a bunch of wounds there. He did 1 to me. So they break, I restrain, and turn to face. over there, the disciples kill kill 3 knights. So I just need to remember that with all the toxics. I mean, the toxic is, man, it's brutal for my army. It truly, truly is. I overrun with both units, and there's a reason why I do that. I could have done a reform, but I need to kill that. I need to get to that chaff that's back there, because if that chaff is able to chaff me, all right, then I'm in big trouble. Not only that, but if I can turn around and if he charges me with the pendulum, I'll go ahead and I'll flee. Okay, if I'm able to get outside his line of sight, then I really don't care about the pendulum either, and that unit, and I'll be able to just take away his entire backfield. So again, my lord just made mincemeat out of that unit. The Grail Knights fail to get into the chaff. However, the Duke does get into the chaff. So that's kind of how it looks. His turn. He goes ahead. He charges his slaves into the yeoman. I'm like, all right, I have a chance. I can maybe do some wounds and stick them there, and then get the Green Knight into the side of his pendulum unit, stick that unit there, and then have my way. Then he opens up with the toxic and the magic. He wipes my Ground Knights down to 2 models and the mage. That's brutal. That's all I can say is it was brutal. But they're still there. Close combat then ensues. I turn around and take off his chaff with ease, and I reform in such a manner that I'm going to be looking to the left. He beats up 2 of my mounted yeomen, and they do nothing back in return. So they break and flee. And he did charge my my newly rallied mounted yeoman. I did not flee. I guess I think I figured it out is I was 5 inches away from him. So had I fled, it was dice +1 to him. And I just you know what? Had I fled, they would have been taken out of the game for a little bit longer. Yeah, so I stuck thinking I might have a chance. I mean, they had a 5-up armor save versus no armor save. I figured they were dead. Either way. So here's how the board looks. Start of my turn. I declare a charge with the Knights of the Realm into the Vermin Hulk. I declare a charge with the Aspirants into the Vermin Hulk. The Duke is going by himself into the Rat at Arms. He does not have a champion in that unit, and he left his mage in that unit, which again to me was a mistake. I would have thrown it in with at least the Plague Monks, but and then I still would have went into that unit, but be that as it may. And then the Grail Knights, because the Duke was charging, declare a charge on the footpads. Everything makes their charge. Okay, I move the Green Knight up, thinking, all right, I'll be okay. And if he wants to charge with the pendulum into the Green Knight, that's what he's there for. He is there to be sacrificial. And the mounted yeomen actually do rally as well. All right, so here's that. During my magic phase, you'll see that there's more than just two Ground Knights now, and they're out of line of sight. So what happened was I had summer growth. I'm now in only in a 1 line, so I can either choose to extend my line or I can start growing ranks. I chose to extend my line, so I just kept pushing out and adding on more models that way. Duke gets in, and close combat wise, they're actually, because the way I went in there with, I didn't have as many Ground Knights. I only had like 3 or 4 Ground Knights, so he ends up having about 4 models, maybe 5 models left in that unit. I only had 3 Ground Knights, I think, going in with it and a Unicorn. My Duke gets challenged out by his mage to try to save the unit. And over there, yeah, it's just not going to be a pretty picture. I think we all know that. So, yeah, he had 4 miles left from that combat. The Duke easily kills his mage, wins that combat, but he sticks with his leadership. And BSB, the Knights Aspirant overrun on the right side against the Vermin Hulk so that I could do a reform with the Knights of the Realm. And this is how the board looks. And again, he goes up on the hill. There's the Duke. This is we're just still doing combat. So now he's got parry on that unit over there. He declares a charge with his slaves against my yeoman. They flee. He redirects into the Green Knight. He reforms to try going after the Grail Knights because I reform rather than pursue to try to possibly go into the rear of that unit. Again, I don't want to touch the pendulum, but at the same point, if I can get a rear charge and everything else, I know it's stubborn, but if I can do enough damage to it, have it go off its own leadership, which is only leadership 7, it should hopefully break eventually. Let's see. Oh, so during my turn, sorry, trying to remember here. Slaves were in the Green Knight. The Green Knight is doing well. He's just taking off about 4 or 5 slaves a turn. I think I keep forgetting to roll for his horse, by the way. The Grail Knights do a reform and move out of line of sight once again from his pendulum, and the Duke is just taking names. And the Knight Aspirants. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you what we're playing. We're playing Spoils of War and Refuse Flank. So the Green Knight, he's taking names. The Mounted Yeomen turn around, they rally, and then they because they chose to flee as a charge reaction, then go ahead and chaff up and try shooting his I don't know what they're called anymore. The rats, the scouting rats. So the Knights of the Realm turn around. They pop the slaves, freeing up the Green Knight. So now the Green Knight, the Knights of the Realm are looking like that. The Mountain Yeoman had moved up in case of the Gutter Runners, but he's pretty much chaffed up now. And that's the 4-up armor save. So now he goes running into those Mounted Yeomen. And the Mountain Yeoman actually they kill one during the shooting phase. They kill the last. Oh no, they killed one during the shooting phase. They kill the last 3 during close combat. That thing suffers a misfire and is removed off the board. Leaves him 1. He did chaff me up with his. So he rallies his footpads on like a leadership 6. They turn around and they chaff me up. My Grails go in, just go right into them and then kill them. My Duke is still winning or tying combat over there. And the Green Knight goes in and pins. What do I call being in combat with that unit? No, the Green Knight just puts himself within 1 inch of the pendulum unit. All right, so the pendulum unit is looking to the right. The Green Knight's basically going to be that sacrificial lamb as chaff. And he's there so that the assassin can't run out and the pendulum itself can't run out. That was his whole purpose in life. He everything else is just kind of moving forward. Oh, I lied. I thought I took out the yeoman, took them out. No, the yeoman died to a man. I apologize about that. So the yeomen go ahead, they die. Now the Knights of the Realm cannot march but the character can't. So I did a march test with the character and marched him out of the unit. And meanwhile, again, I'm chaffing him up with my one last remaining mounted yeoman. And my BSB goes over there. He lights them up with the flame breath weapon. I finally get through all those ratted arms, and the Duke goes into the last remaining globe launcher, and that's it. That's game. So again, I have him chaffed up. He doesn't cause terror. He causes fear, I believe. And that there was the only unit with his two big character, or three characters are in that unit. I think he's got his BSB in that unit. He's got his assassin, and he has the pendulum. So there's nothing I can do about that. Ends up being an 18-2 to the kingdom. So for me, it was really the Rat Arms holding out with the for the MVPs. They held me up. To me, he was going after the Grail Knights, and I understand why he was doing that, but what I would have done is, rather than deal with my Grail Knights, and granted, I always put the Grail Knights in a position where they could go into them, but rather than let the Grail Knights, because again, that's a stubborn unit, allow the go after the Duke. If he kills that Duke, that's huge. I guess it all had to deal with whatever his game plan was and being mindful of that. So for me, the Knights of the Realm, turn around. They picked out the slaves, the Vermin Hulk, the Dreadmill turn 1. So I could even say the BSB and that unit. Yeah, to me that was clutch and just what had to be done. So very happy, very proud. Somehow I was able to get an 18-2 against a Vermin Swarm list that looked designed just to be an army like mine perfectly. And that's it. We do have a lot of tournaments coming up. Let's see. So we are now in April. I'm just going off the top of my head here. Michigan GT is a weekend of October 8th, 9th, I believe, or somewhere around there. Dragon's Den is going to be the weekend of, and that's the tournament I'm hosting here at the same place that this was, or at least locally. Apparently they raised the costs of what it is for us to field there, and I'm like, I'm not paying that. That is a little too much. So we're going to turn around and see. But September 7th and 8th is going to be Dragon's Den. June, we have Brawlers. Please make sure. Apparently, I was talking to Shannon over the weekend, who's going to be running Brawlers. He already has 22 people, and these are all people from down south. I wish I could go. Instead, I blame Pretty Boy. The boy's getting married, so I'm going to his wedding. And I'm very happy about that, but I still blame him for picking that day, so I can't go to Brawlers. Then we have Triumph GT, June 8th, 9th, up in North Jersey. And again, weekend of the 22nd is going to be Buckeye Battles this year. So those of us used to it being the weekend after July 4th, it's not. It's now the weekend of the 22nd. I don't know of any tournaments in May. I think Wicked is usually in May. I'll have to try to find that out. Michigan GT is in October. Hogs Fest is going to be, I believe, in Wisconsin this year, because that's where Jeff, the person who runs that tournament, moved to. And I'm actually going to be trying to fly out for that. The wife has given me permission to do that. Let's see, Grail Quest is going to be out our way, again, either up here in Phoenixville, or it's going to be, again, somewhere local, Westchester area. So Chris, Phil, and I are going to try hitting our heads together and see what we want to go do. Masters, U.S. North American Masters. So it's not U.S., it's North American, because we are definitely getting involved with Canada here. As a matter of fact, I should just look up some Canadian GTs and give that information out. They have some coming up. But North American Masters is going to be the weekend of January 25th, 26th, which should be Pro Bowl weekend. It's the weekend before the Super Bowl, and Super Bowl is always the first Sunday of February. So, of course, it's on my wife's birthday, for those of you who want to know when my wife's birthday is. Let me see if I can get some Canadian tournaments here. Oh, why'd I do that? I don't want that. Slack. Also, while so I don't just have dead air here, the Masters is going to be held in Cleveland. We're still trying to find a specific spot, but it will be held in Cleveland. So, let's see here. Tournaments. We have... Here's my... I don't know when these tournaments are, so I have to, but they've all been approved as long as they're 20 or more. We already said Corner Hammer, we already had Brawlers, Buckeye, Triumph GT, Canadian Masters. Do I have a date here for Canadian Masters? Canadian Masters is going to be May 4th, 5th. It is Canadian Tabletop Championship in Ottawa, Ontario. And so that's going to be coming up. We have War on the Plains in Saskatoon. I have no idea, but that's going to be June 29th, 30th. We have the Canadian Open GT in Edmonton. That's going to be April 13th and 14th. So literally, that just happened. That was the same time as our tournament. We have Grail Quest. We have Michigan GT and Hogsfest. We have Lone Star. Tides of War out in the Midwest. I think the Infernal Zoo as well. And I know, am I missing one here? No, I'm sure I'm missing one because I don't know the one that, unless I already said it because I don't realize what the name is, the one that Chris, so Skaven AZ is going to be hosting out in Arizona. And apparently there's a new one that's going to be out in LA this year because that group's growing out there. So again, just want to turn around, reach out to everybody and let you know that the tournament scene, we are growing. We want to make sure that if I missed your tournament, please let me know and I'll gladly help promote it. And until next time, happy gaming.